This year I had 5 of my students quit. If you're losing students, don't panic. We're going to take this unfortunate turn of events and turn it into an opportune transitional time for your studio. If you've lost more than one student in a short amount of time, the first question you're gonna naturally ask yourself is, why are my students quitting? The last thing that I want you to do is to get down on yourself or be too self-critical. In most cases, when your students quit, it has nothing to do with you. If you're here right now, you are probably a wonderful teacher, and there are so many factors that contribute to a student ending up quitting. Many of the factors are out of your control. This includes schedule getting busy, budgets, change in location, change in family dynamics, loss of interest, and other things that just don't have very much at all to do with the wonderful job that you're doing as a piano teacher. Now, of course, there are always things that we can do to improve as teachers, things that we can do to improve our studio and how we run our business and the experience that our students have. So if you've had a few students quit, then it can be a time to reevaluate these things and see if there is anything in your control that you can improve, change, or let go of. So it is worth doing a bit of self-evaluation, but just a couple of disclaimers. First of all, don't be too hard on yourself because, as I said, in most cases, it has nothing to do with you. And second disclaimer is that you probably won't be able to get a straight answer as for the reason for quitting from the actual student or their parents. In most cases, people will give us a nice answer. And so if it is something that has to do with your studio ambiance or your teaching style, in many cases, you're not going to hear that from your customers because they don't want to hurt your feelings. So self-evaluation may be quite a subjective thing in this case. But here are a few ideas of things that you can maybe journal on or do some self-reflection to see if there's anything that you can improve. So these factors include your teaching style, your personality, how you relate to other people, and your studio ambiance or location. Now, these are things that are not entirely in your control because you are who you are and your space is what it is. However, of course, there are improvements that you can make. You can always pick up some interpersonal skills, take a class, learn more about working with kids, further your education in that regard, and you can always make your studio a more welcoming place or change the location of it. But some other factors to consider would be your lesson prices and your billing system, your selected materials, the actual books that students are working through and taking home, your studio policies, your practice requirements or how much you expect from your students, and your special events, how many you offer, how they are presented, how much the students enjoy them, and your requirements around participation. So once you have asked yourself, of these factors that I have some control over, is there anything that I want to change, reevaluate, or improve on? Once you have dealt with those topics, then it's time to move on to the next question. Ask yourself this: do I want to recruit new students? In most cases, this will be a no-brainer. You lost students, you have openings in your schedule, you want to replace them. But I would encourage you to do a little bit of evaluation and at least think this through before you go on autopilot and just fill up those spots again. It is easy as a piano teacher to just be like, I teach 5 days a week. I teach 30-minute lessons, cookie cutter lessons, one after the other, private lessons only, to get into this rut. And maybe you're not even thinking, is this really how I want my schedule to look? Are these the days that I want to teach on? Are these the times that I want to teach? Do I only want to teach private lessons? Am I teaching the type of students I enjoy teaching? Time to reevaluate, because if ever there were a time to make some changes, when your studio roster is a little bit smaller, that's the time to do it. The other reason that I think questioning, do I really want to fill up my spots with new students right away, would be that think about the investment that you put into a new student once they join your studio. If someone joins your studio, if you're a good piano teacher, and if you're here, I'm guessing you are going to put your heart and soul into making the journey the best that it can be for that piano student. That piano student is in. They are in your inner circle once they're in your studio. And if you decided later on that you wanted to reduce your schedule, change your schedule, and you ended up having to say goodbye to some students, that would be really hard to do. I don't know about you, but once my students are with me, I am not letting them go. Even if I didn't want to teach that many lessons in a week or something like that, they're already with me, so I'm not going to kick them out of the studio. And because of that long-term commitment that so many students have being in our studios for sometimes a decade or more, you really want to think, do I want to invite a new student into my studio knowing that it could be a 10-year plus commitment if they stick around? Now, if you've thought it through and you're like, no, I don't want to make any big changes. I really just want to fill these spots. I like everything the way it is, how things are structured in my studio. I just want to fill these spots. I just recently made an updated video on how to find piano students in 2026. So if you want to hop off this video, go over there and find out ways to fill up your studio schedule, then that might be the direction you want to go in. However, if you are intrigued by the idea of making some changes or some pivots while your roster is a little bit smaller, then let's talk about changes you might possibly make at this time of transition. Ask yourself this: do I want to restructure my lesson schedule or my studio? Do you possibly want to consolidate your schedule? Maybe this is something you've been wanting to do where you teach from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. and you're getting burnt out. You want to reduce that to 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Or maybe you don't like teaching late, but you always have had to. Well, now maybe you can bump everyone up. Or do you want to shift days or times? So again, if you want the time frame to shift, or if you want to drop a day of teaching or move a day of teaching, the time to do it is when you have less students, because when your studio is full, there's not really a lot of shifting that can go on without having to possibly say goodbye to one of your students. Or do you want to introduce a new type of lesson? Perhaps you want to try out partner lessons, small group lessons, or group piano classes. Maybe you want to do overlapping lessons. Well, now you've got a little flexibility in your schedule. Now would be the time to start to recruit those kind of students and set up a new program. Do you want to start teaching online? Now might be the time to do that when you have some openings in your schedule. Or perhaps you don't want to fill those new spots and you want to take a little side venture. Maybe you want to continue your education. Maybe you want to hire a new teacher. So in that regard, you would need some more administrative time. Maybe you want to think about restructuring your billing, your policies, or just simply raise your prices. Well, the time to do that is before you invite new students into your studio, because it's easier to quote that higher price to new families coming in as this is the way it is than to go to your current students and say the price is going up. Now, if you are interested in the idea of furthering your education or becoming a better piano teacher, then I do have a video here all about my favorite books all about piano teaching, so you can become a better piano teacher without even having to take an official workshop or class. But perhaps you want to take it to the next level. Maybe you want to take piano lessons yourself, and this extra time will give you the practice and lesson time that you need. If you're looking for a piano teacher and you're interested in online lessons, I have availability in my schedule if you'd like to set up a single lesson or take regular lessons. I will link that here. Or another piano teacher perhaps in your town. Another way to further your education would be to really bite the bullet and maybe go back to school. You could take some single classes at a local university, or you could even go back for your degree if that is something that interests you. And finally, you might want to take that extra time that you now have and put it into a side hustle or a new endeavor that you've always wanted to do. What is that dream you have that maybe it's related to piano teaching, maybe it's not, but maybe you have something that you've always wanted to do. Have you always wanted to compose a set of pieces, but you haven't had the time? Have you always wanted to author your own book, but you've never had the time? Is this the time to start your side hustle? There might be no better time. If you need some ideas on side hustles that work well for piano teachers, maybe set up another stream of income that can serve you and provide for your family in the long run, I have a video all about side hustles for piano teachers. And thank you for watching this video. I hope that this gives you a little perspective when you have some students that are quitting, so you know that it's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it can be the best thing that's happened to you as a piano teacher or to your studio for your long-term growth and success. So check out that side hustle video or another one of my videos. Make sure you like and subscribe so you see my face again. I will see you on the next video. Bye.